Okay, next up we have Ryan Oots, and actually Terry has this great idea of bringing in other people from the community. So Ryan is actually from NEON. So off you go, Ryan. Thanks.
Okay. Well, as an ecologist, my favorite answer to questions is it depends. And that's because 99% of the time it's the only thing that's right, and it is always right if you ask me a question. And this is because the phenomena we study are often so complex because they are affected by processes operating at a vast range of scales, making it hard to make fundamental rules in ecology. That's when NSF stepped in to create NEON, the National Ecological Observatory Network. We'll be collecting 30 years of data from over 600 variables at 60 sites spread throughout the continent. Critically, though, all of this data will be entirely open access, meaning everyone in this room will have the same access to the data as I will to make discoveries. What I'd like to talk about today, though, is the first experimental effort that will be supported by NEON, and that is the program called STREON, the Streams Experimental Observatory Network. If we have a classic stream, we have a system in which a very great, a high proportion of biodiversity is supported in a system that supports humanity through the provision of fresh water. But in degraded streams, what we often see are the top of the food chain disappears due to habitat degradation or due to species, and we often have excess nutrients coming in from agricultural industrial pollution. These are the effects that STREON will simulate at NEON sites. Why are we interested in top consumers? Because when they disappear, there's often repercussions throughout the entire ecosystem through deviations lower down in the food web and also ecosystem processes. A large number of top of the food chain organisms also act as ecosystem engineers, such as the South American fish, which disturbs the sediment. And as you can see, causes repercussions throughout many different processes. Well, we're also going to be looking at nutrient additions. And why are we interested in nutrients? Because they form the base of a food web in a stream ecosystem. Now, this means that they're important to have present because without them we wouldn't have life, but also excess nutrients also lead to problems downstream, such as dead zones in estuaries and oceans, such as those we see in the Chesapeake Bay and Gulf of Mexico. It turns out, though, that streams can actually act as nutrient removers. So here we see that the proportion of nitrate that a small stream removes can be as high as almost 80%. But if you look at the x-axis, if we increase the nutrient concentrations through pollution, we may actually lose that ability as an ecosystem services. And this is a very new finding that we're just beginning to understand. So you can see this paper is only 4 years old. We also see when we artificially increase nutrient concentrations, such as in this Alaskan stream, nonlinear effects. So only after 11 years of enrichment in this Alaskan stream did bryophytes really kick in. We really don't understand processes like this, even though they already may be happening. So this is the experimental design of STREON. Upstream, we have a typical NEON control reach where we'll be measuring over 200 variables. Downstream, we'll be enriching it with nutrients and measuring the same 200 variables. This slide shows what typical nutrient addition station may look like. We're enriching the stream nutrient concentrations, nitrate or phosphate, by 5 times ambient concentrations. And the drips will vary with discharge, so the higher the flow, the higher the nutrient addition rate. We'll also be deploying these sediment baskets, and above them, inserting devices that emit electrical charge that simulates the effect of the top of the food chain removal by keeping those organisms away. The electricity will be felt by the fish, but not the smaller organisms. Now, why are we interested in the very bottom of the stream? That's because that's where most of the important biogeochemical processes take place. That's where the stream water interacts with the groundwater. And as you can see there, that's where the nutrients are taken up or released, and dissolved oxygen is either added or depleted. It's also where the greatest amount of biodiversity in a stream ecosystem is observed. So this is really the hotspot of any system. So once these baskets have been deployed for a given amount of time, they'll be removed and placed into these closed recirculating chambers, where we'll measure rates of gas exchange and nutrient uptake, so we can get precise measurements of these important processes that are kind of hard to measure in situ. And STREON will be occurring at 10 sites spread throughout the continent, from the Arctic to Puerto Rico and everything in between. This is because streams, they behave very differently among all different types of these ecosystems. And so spreading them out in different types will give us a better idea of fundamental ecosystem laws. All of the STREON data will be posted on the NEON data web portal, so it'll be completely free and accessible to all scientists and members of the public who are interested in looking at these results. And finally, I'd like to close by saying that although we're simulating environmental stressors, the STREON program is meant to serve in which we can understand fundamental ecosystem processes, not just from a stressor standpoint, but from a first rules perspective. And that's the ultimate purpose of STREON.